Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and since it's Women's History Month, I'm here today to talk to you about Bring It On, the 2000 comedy movie. This movie is the OG Bring It On movie. There's been tons of spin-offs, but this is the OG one. This not only is it the OG Bring It On movie, but this is the ultimate cheerleader movie. Like honestly, like I love Sugar and Spice, but this is the ultimate cheerleader movie. In fact, I don't even think they've ever made any other type of cheerleader movies. Like, have they? I don't think they have, other than the spin-offs of like this movie and stuff. I know there was a cheerleader television show called Hellcats on the CW back in the day, but other than that, like there aren't that many cheerleader type shows. There's a reality show one, like some type of documentary one, but other than that, they don't really make shows or movies about cheerleaders. And to tell you the truth, I'm very shocked and surprised they haven't made a Bring It On television show. Like you think they would have at some point. They made a musical and stuff. I could honestly see this being a television show made today because of the important message that this movie had back in 2000, and that is cultural appropriation and stuff. And if this movie was made today, oh, it would get butchered big time. It will get butchered for being woke by like the toxic people and the racist people and stuff like that. It would be shown as trying to push like identity politics and all this other crap. And it's funny, nobody complained about this 23 years ago. So why are people complaining now? They're just complaining for the sake of complaining. Like there are actual YouTubers who literally complain for the sake of complaining just so they can get YouTube money. They brainwash normal people, and then the normal people do their bidding and spread the hate. And those are the people who actually really hate. Now, yes, there are some YouTubers who actually do hate because they're just nasty, vile people and stuff. So if this movie were to get made today, oh, it would stand no chance. It would get like review bomb before it even came out. Like you see how the Marvels movie with the whole Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, and Monica Rambeau is getting blasted online right now only because it's a female-led movie. It needs to get blasted for a whole lot more than other than just getting like being a female movie. It needs to get blasted for being way too silly and stuff like that, and all the overacting and lack of acting in the movie. If you're gonna react to something, if you're gonna complain about something, at least complain in a reasonable way, not because it's female-led or because there are people of color in it. That movie just seems so goofy. What is with Marvel, man? Marvel has become a comedy house now. They used to be good movies. They were action-packed. There was drama. There was an actual story. And then there was humor for levity. But now Marvel movies are just slapstick comedy movies and stuff. What is going on? I don't get it. But back to this movie. This movie has no reason to be as good as it is, because the weird thing is this movie is comprised of primarily television stars and singers and rappers and stuff, and normally that's a disaster for a movie because a lot of people in the music industry, people in television and stuff, they normally have a hard time transitioning to that of movies. However, there are two major movie stars that this movie has, Kirsten Dunst and Gabrielle Union. Everybody else has bopped around from television to movies and stuff. And I love this cast. This cast has some of the best chemistry I've ever seen in a movie and stuff. And it's funny, I've already told you back in Sugar and Spice that when they was auditioning for this movie, they were also auditioning for Sugar and Spice. A lot of the stars were back and forth, like Gabrielle Union. She said, those that auditioned and got this movie, the consolation prize was that of Sugar and Spice. And I like Sugar and Spice. I wish people would stop ragging on that movie. It's a fun movie. It just has cheerleaders who rob a bank. But like, this movie was ahead of its time, man, for female empowerment, feminism, being prideful of like, your sexual orientation, cultural appropriation, representation. Even though there is representation in this movie, you still don't really know much about the black characters in this movie. But then again, you really don't know much about the white characters in this movie too. I'll get into all that later. And like, it was also ahead of its time for like, trying to just address like how white society steals other people cultures that are people of color. And it's been going on since time began and everything with humans and stuff. And, it did it in a way that wasn't preachy. It did it in a way that was like in your face, you know what I'm saying? And it did it in a way that made people think. It took many years for people to realize that, hey, this is not cool. This is not acceptable and everything, And it's like, give credit when credit is due. Like, what is it? Like, who was that? I think Madonna got pissed. I think at Lady Gaga and for like stealing her, like, her whole look and vibe and all this other stuff. And then she said that, all these younger stars like Ariana Grande and I said Ariana Grande, I hate R's, wouldn't be who they were if it wasn't for her. But then people pointed out that, hey, you wouldn't be who you were if you didn't steal your identity from that one black model and stuff. Was she a black model or was she a black singer? I forget, because I don't know who she stole it from. But it's some woman. And that pretty much shut Madonna up. And Madonna's going through a big identity crisis right now. Like, she keeps trying to act black all of a sudden. And I'm not even going to get started on her face, because that's not here nor there. But, like, Madonna has stole a lot from black culture and will not fess up to it. She stole it from back in the day and she's stealing it even today. And so like, it's sad that this movie didn't like, start the conversation as big as it was. And for people to see it nearly 20 years later, for them to realize that, hey, it's not cool to steal other people's culture. And like, it's like, it's weird because now you have this whole toxic society, primarily of like white people online and in politics, trying to erase ethnic people's like culture and stuff like that by saying, oh, we don't need color representation in movies. We don't need LGBT representation in movies and stuff like that. They was fine just the way they were. No, they wasn't, because movies were primarily white. And then if you had like a person of color in a movie, they were a stereotype. And if you had an LGBT person, they was made fun of and stuff. And it's like, it's weird how the conversation has now shifted back to what it was before, like, this movie was ever created. But, like, this movie is also freaking hilarious. There are times where you just cannot stop laughing in this movie. But this movie is interesting because it taught people something. That cheerleading is more than them just cheering at like games and stuff and pep rallies. There's a whole like society and function that revolves around cheerleading, a whole world that people never knew of. I never knew they did like competitions and competed like in sports and dancing and stuff like that. Like, I never knew that. Because, growing up in school, like grade school and stuff like that, you just check out the cheerleaders and like, whoa, okay, they're hot, and like can't wait for them to come out for like the pep rallies and stuff like that, and their outfits and the pom poms and stuff, and them kicking their legs up in the air and doing pyramids and stuff like that, and throwing people up in the air. And it's like you never think about that stuff, like beyond that. You know what I'm saying? And this movie highlighted that. And I'm surprised till this day, more people, once again, aren't talking about cheerleaders and what they do beyond pep rallies and games. Like, even the show Hellcats didn't even, like, propel the narrative of, like, cheerleaders like this movie did. But that show only lasted for, like, a season. It was an alright show. I want to rewatch it one day because nobody never talks about it, and I just want to rewatch it. I want to see, was it as okay or good as I remember. It was never great. Hellcats were, you know what I'm saying? It was all right. That's all I remember and stuff. But like, yeah, it had two former Disney stars in it, and so that was nice for them to kind of break away from Disney. But it only lasted for a season. It was struggling big time on the CW. A lot of shows around that year was struggling and stuff. The CW just struggles in general. That's why they got sold and everything. But yeah, and so like this movie has a huge star-studded cast, and I mean a huge, huge cast. But before I go into any of the cast members, first, let me just say this. Rest in peace, Natina Reed, who played Genelope. I think that's her name. So when it comes to the black characters of this movie, you actually don't know their names. The only one I know is LaFred, because this character actually said the person's name in a very snarky kind of way. And that's the only one I ever knew. But other than that, they never tell you the black character's name. You have to like look that up online. And so like she sadly died many years ago when crossing the street or crossing like something, I think maybe like crosswalk, or she crossed, like I know she crossed something and she got hit by like a car, and the person who hit her administered CPR, but it was just too late. And she was part of the band called Black, and the rest of the Black members are actually in this movie. And it's so sad she died, because when it came to the Clovers and everything, like other than Gabrielle Union, she's the only one that stood out and had more lines and more stuff to do. She was the mean one of the group who wanted to beat up Missy and stuff. Missy and Torrance. And also, rest in peace, Richard Hillman, who I just found out died. I had no idea this dude died. I remember him in Detroit Rock City. He was the scalper. And he plays Aaron, the ex-boyfriend of Torrance. I don't know if he was really gay or he was just gender fluid or whatever. It's kind of in the air of how you want to interpret it, because his character acts super, super, super girly and gay, but it turns out he's actually straight. Not sure if he was bearding both girls, but like, it's never really truly explained in the movie. It's just one of those things that in 2000 they kind of didn't know how to address. But I had no idea that dude died of like an overdose and stuff, and so may he rest in peace. I was wondering why I'd never seen him in anything since this. But then again, most of the cast in this movie, you really don't see in nothing no more, which is quite a shame because they are so talented. You have the phenomenal Kirsten Dunst in this movie as like Torrance, which is funny because like I thought, because like her name is Torrance, but the school is the mascot's like the Toros or something like that. I'm just like, why is the name similar to her? But my God, she was phenomenal in this movie. Because this movie, it not only like it introduced the world of competitive cheerleading, but it introduced lots of like cheerleading slang. like cheerocracy and a cheertators and a cheermocracy. I'm like, what the world kind of language is this? It is so catchy. And thank God nobody uses it in like, everyday speaking terms. But it's just hilarious for this movie and stuff. She plays the ultimate cheerleader. Like I've never seen a person this preppy in a cheerleader movie other than Sugar and Spice. Because actually Kristen Dunst actually turned this movie down. And originally they was gonna get Marley Shelton, but she turned this movie down so she can be in Sugar and Spice. So then they went back with the Kristen Dunst Kristen Dunst and stuff. And so she finally just like accepted it. I don't know why she turned it down, but I'm glad she took it. And so her character is like, the uber cheerleader. Her whole life revolves around that of cheerleading to where she could care less about going to college and like, she could care less about getting a good job. She loves her boyfriend to like death, even though people assume that he's gay. And she just has this huge, like overly perky personality. But she only gets stressed out when things aren't going her way in the cheerleading world. And she really gets aggressive when people like say crappy things about cheerleading or don't want her to be like a cheerleader and stuff. And it's kind of weird to devote your entire life to cheerleading because, like, think about it. The only times there are cheerleaders are at school and professional, like, sports and stuff like football and basketball. But I don't even know if they still have those for basketball. And so it's kind of like if she didn't go to like a good college and stuff, what cheerleading, like, organization would she have been a part of other than that of a sport? Well, she had to be really good in order to be like, like a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader or something like that. And she could have probably worked on a committee for like, that judges like competitions and cheerleading, so she probably would have went into something like that or been a coach. Are there coaches in cheerleading? Because in this movie there are no coaches, there are no dance choreographers and stuff. I remember when I was in school, there was always like the head like teacher or person for like cheerleading and dance type stuff. And I remember seeing those in like the yearbook, but you don't see none of that in this movie. And I remember when I was in school, I'll get into those later. But anyway, but yeah, she's like has this overly perky personality. She uses some of like the most interesting cheerleader slang, and she just devotes her entire life to nothing and nothing else but cheerleaders or cheerleading and stuff. Elijah Dushkush plays that of Missy, and of course she's best known for playing um in the Buffy television series. God, what was her character's name? Man, it's been so long since I watched Buffy. I forgot the character she played. I want to say Eve, but it's not Eve. Faith. That's it. She played Faith in Buffy. And so in this movie, she plays kind of like the rebel, slightly edgy girl. Not so much a bad girl, but she's the tough girl and everything. And she came from a background of gymnastics. And so when she transferred to the new school, they had no gymnastics. So she had to try cheerleading. And it takes her a while to adjust, but she later becomes like a cheerleader after taking a lot of resentment from a lot of the other cheerleaders and stuff who did not want her to join because of the way of her appearance. They made fun of her because they thought she was like a lesbian, this and that. This movie does become problematic in today's term because there are a couple of homophobic slurs that are used in here, and also a person's mental state. Like instead of saying like mentally inept or anything like that, they use like the R word. But this was, sadly back in the year 2000, so that's why, this is in the movie and stuff. It's funny because they do make Buffy references while like Eliza is like, in character and stuff. Like, the one character who passed away, she said, let's beat these Buffys down. And like, ooh, girl, you've been touched by an angel. And of course, that's Buffy and Angel from like, the Buffy series. And he had his own series called Angel. Now, Gabrielle Union plays the head cheerleader of the Clovers, and she plays Isis, which I never knew her name because I don't think they never mentioned it in the entirety of the movie. But other than being like, a headstrong, fierce, like leader and stuff, other than that, we really don't know much about her character. I don't know if this was like intentional or it's just like Hollywood being Hollywood when it comes to diverse characters and stuff. Because it's like, there's a lot of characters here we really don't know much about, but you get like a little bit into their backstory. But with the black characters, I've noticed like not only do you not know their names, but you really don't know. I mean, you don't know nothing about them. I mean, nothing about them and stuff. And I'll get into that a little bit later too. Now, Gabrielle Union has stated many years later that she regrets how she played her character. Apparently, she had free range to portray her in a way she wanted, and she decided to take the high road. She decided to, not be the angry black girl stereotype, which she wishes now she would have told the Toros off. But this is a true fact because black people in general, but mostly black women, if they act angry, then people think, oh, that's how they always are. They're the typical like angry, brutal type people and stuff. So black people are taught to take the high road when they're tired of putting like a muzzle around their mouth. But at times, no matter who you are, what race you are, sometimes you have to take the high road and other times you have to like pop off the mouth. You know what I'm saying? And so while her character did not pop off the mouth, at some points in time in the movie she did, which was really refreshing to let them know how exactly she felt. And, the other character, she popped off the mouth and everything, but the Gabrielle Union character made her like hold back. And it would have been nice if she would have went a bit more ham and everything and like, really told the Toros how she felt about them always stealing instead of like mildly going. Now, Jesse Bradford, he played that of Cliff. And he plays Missy's brother. And he also plays Torrance like love interest in the movie. And he's kind of more like, the grungy, like, alternative type dude who doesn't care, loves to read books, the intellectual type, loves to play guitar and stuff. And, you would think his character would never be into a cheerleader because of how popular they are. But you gotta remember, dudes love, like, hot people. So, you know what I'm saying? And so he is, like, smitten by her and stuff. Claire Kramer, she plays Courtney, and ironically she's from Buffy as well. She played a villain just like Eliza's character did. Eliza's character is interesting. She was like an anti-hero, then a villain, then a hero in the Buffy series. But the Courtney character, the actress who plays Courtney, Claire, she was just a straight up villain in Buffy. There's so many Buffy characters in this, like, it's not even funny. Like, the person who plays her best friend was in Buffy. And so, like, she is the ultimate mean girl. She could be like a queen bee in her own right, but she's mostly just like, third in command when it comes to that, the cheerleaders. Well, she was second in command until that the Missy character showed up. She is just rude and mean to like every person she sees. She uses all kind of slurs to like, homophobic slurs and stuff like that. And she really doesn't like accepting new people in the cheerleading group. Unless it's somebody she wants to be in there and she tries to like manipulate people into getting what she wants. But other than that, she clashes mostly with that of Torrance and stuff. One of the most hilarious scenes in the entirety of the movie is when she tried to fight a little girl. That was the most hilarious thing I ever saw. Basically, the girl like pushes her or something, and you don't know who she's talking to, but she has her head down and she's like shouting at this person, talking about calling them a hag and this and that. And it's a little old girl, and she's like stomps on her foot and she like punches her and stuff. And like literally, Whitney has to like contain that of Courtney because Courtney wants to whoop on this little girl. Like she is just like the meanest character in the entirety of the movie. She also doesn't wear nothing under her Spanx, which causes Jan to get his digits in her. Let's put it like that. And this movie is a little outdated. Like, yeah. Nicole Blenderback, she plays Whitney, and she is probably the only diverse character in the entire like Torrance like cheerleading group and stuff. And I've mentioned her before in the Clueless movie. She's the Asian actress who always just pops up in all these like 90s movies and TV shows, normally playing the best friend. And her roles used to be like very limited and stuff, like in Clueless. Like she would just pop in and pop out, but there was really nothing to her character. Here, I'm so glad they gave her something to do and something to say. Like she's probably like probably I would say like fourth like in command of that the cheerleaders and stuff because she plays that of Courtney's best friend. But she's just as mean as rude as Courtney, just not as mean. She doesn't use no slurs, but she is very brutal and everything like that. And like I'm trying to think. It was something else. I can't think of. Oh, Buffy. That's it. She was in Buffy as well, but she had like a minor role in Buffy. She just played like the friend in the friend group and stuff. And I think she was probably in an alternate universe one of the first to die from like the vampires and stuff. Now, Chanina, I think that's how you say her name. Jolson. I think that's how you say her name is Cha Ni Na. That's how you pronounce her name because when you look at her name, oh boy, it does not look like that. It's not even spelled with a C. And like she plays crap, I don't even know who she plays. Darcy, that's it. Darcy. And I'm pissed because I like her as an actress. And Darcy is basically just there. Like the only little bit we know about her is that her family comes of money, well, comes from money. But then again, so do so many of the other characters because when you go to Missy's house, it looks like a mansion and everything. And so that's not really much about her character when everybody else comes from that money. And but I guess hers come from more because they tried to get money from her when they needed money to get like, you know, this professional choreographer and stuff. And like other than that, we know she uses one big word in the entire movie. And that's a reason for that because in the deleted scene. And the deleted scene, she has to study for like the SATs or something like that. And while she remembering everything, using all the big words and stuff, she does it in a chair while she has to like dance and like walk and everything. And it sucks because that was like a cool scene that she had to learn not only all these big words and what they mean, but she had to do it in a chair form while moving around and they got cut. And there's a tiny bit of it in the montage when they're all learning how to dance towards the end of the movie. But it just sucks it got cut. It also sucks that her character doesn't like do much. Like you don't know if her character is mean or nice because throughout the entire movie she's nice except for one scene where she's mean during tryouts and stuff. And what really pisses me off that she didn't get to do much was because like she pops up in a lot of like 2000 and like late 90s like movies and shows, not many and stuff, but like she can actually act because her biggest role is that of Xena. Well, not Xena, but she was in Xena for the last 2 seasons. and she played in Amazon, and she's really good at acting. She has a great look to her, and she can actually do flips and cartwheels and stuff like she did in Xena. That was actually her doing it. And I remember when I saw her in Xena, I always thought to myself, man, if they was to ever reboot Xena or have a spinoff, she should play her. And then I'm thinking, man, she needs to play Wonder Woman and stuff. Like in the 2011 Wonder Woman TV show that never got made, and like, she really should have played Wonder Woman. And I really wish she would have been Wonder Woman in like the DCEU at that time, but sadly she was not. And I remember she was in the second American Pie movie because I read that and I'm just like, what? I don't remember seeing her in that movie. So I went back and I rewatched it. It's literally a teeny tiny cameo role. It's when both Stifler brothers are playing like, with like football or volleyball. I think it was the football. He was trying to like scam on some girls, and they threw the football, and he landed like in those group of girls, and she's one of them. And I'm just like, man, it sucks how she always gets like these tiny roles. But those are the only things I've ever seen her in. She's been in other stuff, but I don't know how big her role is. And like, but in Xena, that was like her biggest role to date, where she had like a lot to do. Which one day I do plan on talking about that, because I like those Amazon episodes. Now, Renee Bell plays Casey, and she's normally with the Darcy character. The only thing about her character I know that she's super nice, super sweet, which is the same thing as nice, and slightly dumb in the head. And that's it. Like there's really nothing else to her character. And so every time you see her, she's just being like nice and stuff. And I wish they could have done more with her. But other than that, I have no idea who this actress is, sadly. Now, Nathan West, he plays Jan. He plays the perverted male cheerleader. And it's weird, because in this movie, it introduced a lot of people to male cheerleaders. I've only seen and met one male cheerleader before in my life. He went to my school, and he wasn't the male cheerleaders who lift the girls up. He was the actual cheerleader with the pom-poms and everything like that. But it didn't last long. Similar to how that one girl didn't last long in football, because the guys on the other team from the school, they pretty much tackled the crap out of her to make her forcibly leave and everything. They tackled the crap out of her. And so, like, Jan, the only thing we know about him is that he's a male cheerleader and he's very perverted, like extremely perverted. You probably will never see that type of perversion in like a movie or TV show today. But like I said before, this was back in the 2000s. Ironically, he's been in other stuff, but I never knew it. He was in Not Another Teen Movie, which I did not know, and he was in D2, The Mighty Ducks, which he was the goalie on the enemy's team, which I never knew because he wore the helmet the entire time. But that's because he played hockey in real life. And he actually married the lead star of Not Another Teen Movie, who played Janie, which is funny because he played Jan and she played Janie. That's it, Janie. And of course, she played Alex in Supergirl. So not only is he married to Alex from Supergirl, but he is the brother-in-law to the Red in Space Power Ranger, because that's the actress who played Janie. Janie. I keep saying Janie for Janie. That's her brother in real life and stuff. Now, Huntley Ritter played Les. There's nothing much about his character. He barely shows up in the movie. He just plays the gay guy, and that's literally it. And it's nice they had that representation of a gay character, but they did absolutely nothing with his character other than him talking about like what his sexuality was, and like he talks to this one dude towards the end of the movie, and show that he's interested in that dude, and that's literally about it. So they do have gay representation in it, but not really, like, you know what I'm saying? Now, Shamari Fear, she plays Lava, and I had no idea that was her character's name in the movie, because like Nobody knows what the black cheerleader names are, and there's nothing to her character. She's literally just there, and she barely says anything. And so there is black representation in this movie. It's just, I don't know. Like, okay, there is, and we know they are struggling in school and they get their stuff stolen. But other than that, they have nothing to do in the movie other than being pissy and getting revenge at one point and then showing everybody what their skills are. And so it's kind of like we don't know, like just like some of those other characters, we don't know nothing about them. But with those other characters, we only know snippets of them. Like we know Casey's nice, we know Darcy is like smart, we know that Jan is perverted, and we know Les is gay. But with her, and the other like Clover cheerleaders, we don't know nothing about them, especially that of their leader. Like we don't know nothing about them. They gave nothing in terms of identity to those characters. And I wish the movie was split because the movie revolves around the Toro cheerleaders, and they're like are technically our hero cheerleaders, but also our villain cheerleaders, whereas the Clovers are actually the hero cheerleaders, but they're barely in the movie. I wish the movie would have been split half and half to where we get to know both sides of the cheerleading groups and stuff and what they go through. If this movie was made today, they would totally show the actual real struggles of those black and Latino cheerleaders from like the Clovers and stuff because they come from a predominantly black and Latino school, and it would have showed more emphasis on them. And just like with the lava character, Brandy Williams plays LaFred, and there's nothing to her character. Now, both Shamari and Brandy are in the girl group Black with that Tatina. And so, like, there's nothing literally about her character. She's there, she might say one line, that's about it. And the only reason why I know her name is LaFred is because the other character, like, mentioned her and stuff. And then we have Lindsay um Selene, I think that's how you say her name, as Big Red. That's all we know is her name is Big Red. That's her nickname and stuff. And I was shocked when I found out who this person was because she's from Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And she's not in the movie much, which really bothered me because I love that character in that actress in Sabrina. But I was so happy to see her play somebody completely different because in two things I've seen her in, she always plays like the nice, dopey, sad little girl type stuff. But here she is mean and she is fierce. She is the former head captain of the cheerleaders, and she is the one who stole all the routines from the Clovers and stuff. And she is just, and she knows she did it and she doesn't care. She's mean, she's cruel. But I didn't recognize her at first because she dyed her hair red and she has like a tan. Bianca, I'm not sure how to say this, Kodlik or something like that. She plays Carver, and Carver is the one who gets taken out of the movie at the very beginning because she tries to go up in the air, do some kind of like maneuver, and she falls, crashes, and breaks her leg and stuff. So she's out of the entire movie, but she shows up at the end to cheer her team on, and she's in that montage musical thing at the end of the movie where they play Hey Mickey. And like we don't get much of nothing about her character. We don't know nothing whatsoever about her. And I remember when I saw her at first, I'm like, man, the actress looks crazy with that hairstyle and everything and those facial expressions. But she was in this one television show and she is gorgeous and everything. I wish she could have been in the movie more. And one thing that is funny is the voice of Sonic is actually the theater boy who doing like the tryouts and auditions and stuff. And we can't forget about Ian Roberts, who plays Sparky Pulaski as the pill popping finger, what is it, jazz, what is it, Spirit Fingers, that's it, Spirit Fingers. That dude was hilarious. Whenever I get to his part in the movie, I always have to go back and rewatch it because this dude is hilarious. He's this narcissistic, like, choreographer who's rude and insulting, uses slurs, and he has like this like dancing theater type background, and he insults like all the girls and all the guys and stuff. And like, he's just like insane, and he pops pills and everything, and you really think he's gonna like kill those girls when he takes up the stool and he breaks it. He's all like, no, those are not spirit fingers, these are spirit fingers, these are gold. I'm just like, oh my god. And so this movie is just about a bunch of cheerleaders. Like, basically, it's people who devote their lives to cheerleading. And that's really the only goals they have in the movie. However, when they add Missy to the group, there is some decisiveness within the group. There are some, like Torrance, who wants Missy in the group, but then the rest of the members kind of don't. When they look at her, they judge her by her appearance. And this is the first indication that there is something wrong with our like leading cheerleading group within the movie. They look at Missy and they just completely judge her by the clothes she is wearing. And some of them even assume that she is a lesbian and make fun of her because of that. Now, we don't know her sexuality in the movie because it's never explained. And so, like, when she makes the tryouts, because, Torrance is the head and she gets to decide. And so when they do their routine, the whole bird is cold in here. This makes Missy get really pissed because she recognizes that cheer, and she takes Torrance on like a journey to like another school that's on the other side of town, and on the more urban side of town. And this is where we meet the Clovers, and we see the same cheer routine, which lets Torrance know that crap, dude, like, how is it that we both have the same routine? Now, Torrance thinks it's because of some type of cheerleading curse, where, like, if you drop the spirit stick, then you're cursed and goes to Hades and stuff. This is how obsessed this woman is about cheerleading, to where they have, like, cheerleading curses and gods and this and that. And every other cheerleader you see in this movie is the real thing. They're extras playing like cheerleaders and stuff, and I really like that. And what's really cool about this movies is that there are no like stunt people really in this movie. They all had to go through like cheerleading training and stuff. So when you see them like going up in the air and doing the pyramids and stuff, they really had to do that. Now, and all the dancing they had to learn as well. And so this is where we get the biggest conflict in the movie, when the Clovers notice that of Torrance, because they recognize her. They don't know who Missy is. And they are pissed and upset because they don't like the idea of the redhead, filming them and stealing their routines, which is, of course, Big Red, which Torrance had no idea. She literally had no idea. And, the Clovers let them know that, they're going to bring it at finals because they're going to go all the way. And this is, of course, the whole what is that phrase? Like, just don't bring it. Like, what is that phrase they use in the movie? Oh, no, I'm thinking of not in a teen movie. Well, just don't bring it. We brought it, or something like that, or some crap like that. But yeah, it's basically the phrase of the movie is "bring it," which a lot of people use, like The Rock and stuff. And of course, the movie is called "Bring It On." I can't think of the actual phrase I'm thinking about right now, but anyway. And so because of this, she tells her group that they stole the routine, and they seem to be upset about it, but they don't want to change their routine, and they're okay with cheating and everything. And this is a huge problem in society, and something the movie addresses when it comes to cultural appropriation, because the whole bird is cold in here. It's not just your typical cheerleading dance routine or a dance routine. There is actual, like, urban and ethnic culture within their dance moves and stuff, and the way they say their words. Like, they're basically using hip hop dances and like their cheer routine. And of course, hip hop is mostly associated with black culture and stuff. And so, like, this is something that's been plaguing like the world for many, many years, mostly that of white society, because they tend to steal from other cultures and they never give nobody their credit and their due. And and I love how this movie touches down on that, because this is a big statement they made. And I mean, it's a huge statement they made, which, like I said before, in the day's time, if they was to make this statement, they would be considered woke, or and stuff like that, by like all these groups of like white people like online and all this other stuff. And the clever thing that the movie does is that it doesn't really, it tells you straight on in your face that, yo, this is not cool, but it does it in kind of like, not a pandering, preachy kind of way, which is very refreshing, because in today's like standards in Hollywood days, they preach a lot. And that's getting to the point where even people who want those messages like told don't want it in such a preachy kind of manner. And so it is very ignorant of the Toros to want to continue to steal like this routine. And even Torrance and Missy go along with it. Missy don't want to, but she has no say, because Torrance is the captain. And Torrance doesn't want to do it, but she realizes, they have no other routine, because they don't do their own stuff. They just steal from like the Clovers and stuff. And the thing is, Big Red and, and other groups like this who steal from other cultures, they do it because they think nobody's gonna find out, because they're like on the other side of town, or it's in a different country, or like they're poor, or like whatever. It reminds me of Star Trek Discovery. CBS literally stole Star Trek Discovery, a lot of its blueprint, from this one dude in another country. I think he's like in an Indian country or stuff. And they stole it from his like one-click video game he put online years ago. And the character descriptions are very similar. The plot is very similar. It's even to the point he sued and lost, because CBS has like millions of lawyers, and this dude is just like, he has only one. And so it got to the point where they decided, okay, by season 2, the things that we stole, we're gonna just like leave out the big like animal plot device out. And they started going in a different direction, and they knew what they did, what I'm saying? They knew they stole, but yet they still won their case. It's weird, because like, how can a judge grant them the win and everything, knowing that they stole? And so like, if you don't step up, if you don't speak out to crap like this, then like, it's gonna continue. And there have been so many like singers and like, some stars that like benefit from stealing from black and brown cultures, black and Hispanic cultures. Like, there are tons of like, there was this one girl group called Little Mix, and one of the characters, or one of the bandmates in there, you think she's Hispanic. She's tan. She has these like exotic features to her, big lips, big eyes, the hair, and it turns out she's actually white, and she tans. And like, I guess her lips are probably fake or whatever. Her curves, I don't know if those are fake or not, but like, you think she's Latino, but she is not. And she left the group because they can't get along with her, and she did her own solo thing with Nicki Minaj, I think it was. and she's like rapping and the thing, and then so now she's not only taking like hip hop black culture, but then she has the appearance of like a Latino, and there's so many others in the industry that do that. Ariana Grande has been accused of that, but with Ariana, she's like Italian, so that's for like the reason why she's so dark skinned and stuff like that. And but like there have been so many others been accused of stuff like this. Um, what's that one Asian comedian actress who was in that Marvel movie? That Shang-Chi movie, Aquafina, I think her name is. A lot of people are upset with her because she acts very urban and ghetto and black in a lot of movies she's in. Like when you see her talk like in interviews, she talks as normal can be. But the moment she's in a movie, she acts like she's the most urban person ever. And a lot of people are pissed at her for this and stuff. It's to the point where she left Twitter because they kept accusing her and stuff and attacking her online, and she just like left Twitter and stuff. And when I've never knew who she was. Like I've seen her and I heard she's like the new it comedian girl and stuff like that. And I've only seen her in Shang-Chi, but then I decided to look at some clips of her on YouTube. And yeah, she does act urban every time. Like, she's in something. Same with that Bad Baby girl, whatever her name is, the Cash Me Out Loud girl. Like she's been accused of cultural appropriation. I think she's white and Italian, and she looks black and Hispanic when you look at her and stuff. And she talks ghetto, she acts ghetto, she raps and like all this other stuff. And it's like, then there is, what's her name? Alec Baldwin's wife. Harlania Baldwin, I think her name is. For the long time, I assumed she was Hispanic and everything. She said she's from like, I forget what she said she's from. I think probably Spain or something like that. She looks Hispanic. She sounds Hispanic. Her name is Hispanic. Turns out she's white. She changed her name to sound more Hispanic. I think her real name might be Helen, but she changed it to sound more Hispanic. And she tends to like look Hispanic and rolling like the way she speaks to sound like Hispanic and everything. And it's just like, why do people do this? They benefit off this and they get rich off this, while the actual like diverse people who are like black and Hispanic do not benefit for this, get ragged on by like white society and get to stay poor and everything. I don't get it. Like if you have like a person who's like black and they rap or they dress ghetto, they get looked down upon and people talk smack about them. But then the moment you have like one white person starts rapping and everything, all of a sudden they win like multiple awards and they're considered the greatest rapper of like all time. Like Iggy Azalea or like Eminem and everything. And it's like, well, black people started this stuff first. And it's like, we get called like all kind of bad names while they're looked at as like gods and everything. And I just don't understand that. And that's what the thing about this movie touches upon. Because the thing that the Toros, you assume they are your hero cheerleading group, but they're actually the villains who later turn into be the heroes and stuff. And so while they're at their game practicing and everything, the Clovers, they get their revenge on them and they start doing the same routine that the Toros are doing, but do it like way better. And people in the audience are realizing, oh wait, y'all did steal this and stuff. And when Torrance asked her group, should we change our routine? Who thinks we need to change it? Even the people in the audience said yes, because they realized that, look, this is tired and old and y'all are stealing. And so throughout the entire movie, this is what they try to do. They try to be original. They hired like a choreographer who literally uses the same routine all around California and stuff, and all around like the United States. And so when they went to like the national type regional thing or whatever you call it, They're about to perform, but then bam, this other group performs before them and does the same routine. So they don't have nothing to do, so they have to use that same routine. And now they have been labeled by so many now as just stealers. So they're about to get kicked out, but they don't because it's just frowned upon. And so throughout the rest of the movie, there's like a relationship brewing between that of Cliff and Torrance, but the problem is she has a boyfriend in college. So like she's torn between this, she doesn't know who she likes more. Does she like this new guy who she just met who's interesting, or does she like her long-standing boyfriend who used to be a male cheerleader and supports her, but people assume he's gay, which is starting to get in her head. And it gets to the point where he's no longer supporting her because when she calls him, she can't get a hold of him because he is cheating on her with like another girl and stuff while he's in college. And so like this becomes a problem when they're at the regionals things because both her boyfriend and her love interest are literally sitting next to each other and they have no idea who they are. And so when he drives her home and everything, still neglecting her, her new love interest is heartbroken as a result. And so this actually doesn't even cause no conflict between that of her and Missy. But like, so it's funny, like one of the cool things about the movie is when they had to get like the professional choreographer, they had to do like a car wash thing. Now, the car wash thing is all real. It's a real video camera, as opposed to like a movie making camera, and like it's just them having fun. It's not even like really scripted. It's only scripted when you get to the real video footage of like the movie. And so this is like a cool like thing of just like the cast is like having a blast. And so one of the girls realizes that the Clovers can't make finals and stuff because they don't have enough money. So, Torrance decides to ask her father for the money to like sponsor them. When she hands the check over to them, they don't want it because they see it as charity and kind of like hush money. But Torrance is all like, it's not like that. Why y'all have to be so mean? And this is when she utters the phrase, you better bring it and stuff like that. And because the thing about the Clovers is that they have pride. They don't want charity and they work hard to do what they do just to have their identity stolen from them. And so they tell her, they're going to get the money on their own. Now, instead of a car wash and everything, they decide they're going to ask for the money from like this like talk show host and everything. And so she gives them the money they need to go there. Which is kind of weird because that in itself is like charity. So it would have been nice to see them do the car wash thing in the movie, in the bake sales and stuff like that, as opposed to like the Toros and stuff. So of course it's the big showdown and we get all these real life cheerleaders doing their thing, and we get like the Clovers versus like the Toros. And the Toros are all like, we're going to try to learn as much as we can about dancing. So they use different techniques and styles from other like, genres like sorry about that, my camera died. And they're going to use all different forms of dance, interpreted, theater, anything they can like learn, and they're actually learning themselves and they're actually finally making their own routine. And so, they have it out and the Clovers, they win and everything. And it's kind of like you don't know how you want to feel when they win because it's kind of like you want the Clovers to win, but you also want the Toros to win too, because the Toros are the ones that we've been interacting with throughout the entirety of the movie. And so it's a little disappointing when they don't get the win, but the right team really did win in the end. And both cheerleaders, like captains, have a mutual respect at this point and stuff, because that's something that the ISIS character, which will never be called today, they started to like bond at one point, when the Gabrielle Union character told her that, you better bring it and this and this and that. And so like in the end, like the best team won and the other team even though they were sad, you have Courtney of all people talking about, there's always next year and or like, but we got second place, so that's good enough and everything. And even she was able to turn around because even she realized in her hateful little heart that what they did was wrong and stuff. And so then, of course, the movie ends on one of the coolest moments like ever. And, it's the Hey Mickey song, that cheerleading song. And it's sung by Bewitched. And I love that Irish band. And so the entire cast, they're just like dancing to it, having fun. And you can tell this was film after the movie was filmed because people hairstyles are now different and stuff, and the one girl is less tan. And so this is just an all-around fun movie. Like, in some ways it's a little bit of a coming of an age, but it's a movie that has a very important message. And like, it's trying to get into people's heads that, hey, look, what you're doing just isn't okay. It never was okay, and you gotta stop it. Now, there are things about this I wish the movie would change. I wish they would take out all the slurs. I wish they would emphasize more on characters that we really don't know much about or just there in the background. Like, it's weird they're the main star if they feel like background characters. I wish they would have like a little bit more interaction with them. Also, explain more about the whole male cheerleader thing, because all we see is them just picking the girls up and this and that. And they get made fun of in the movie by the football team who's supposed to be like really, really bad. And so, like, it would have been nice to have some more character development with them. It would also been extremely nice to have some more character development, or actually character development, period, with the Clovers and everything, because they do come from a Black and Hispanic predominantly school. And we know nothing about them other than them a little bit of their struggles and this and that, because the only struggles we know is that they had their routine stolen. And so it would have been nice to split the movie, evenly between like, both groups and see what they go through and they have to learn and practice and this and that. This movie has spawned a bunch of sequels. A musical that I never knew of, and I never even knew they made a musical out of this, but yet they still won't make a television show out of this. Then there are a bunch of direct-to-DVD movies that I have never seen. I've been too scared to want to watch them because none of the original cast members are in them, and there's no continuity to none of the first movie. And I've never watched them, and I don't know how they did. But like one of my old friends, she kind of liked the second one, well, the second movie that came out. But like whenever I read the comments online, like from actual like critics, they just pan these movies and they say they're not very good. So I really don't know, and I've never looked at a reviewer's video on these things. I've just been too scared. I mean, I did the whole American Pie spin-off direct to DVDs, and I learned my lesson not to do that again. And then after so many years, they finally made another one. But Sci-Fi Television made it, and it was a horror movie. I heard that bombed so badly. The trailer looked terrible. But those spin-off movies had like Peyton Tierra in this movie. They had Ashley Benson and Christina Milian. But this is the ultimate cheerleader, like chick flick type movie. The audition parts are hilarious in the movie. It makes for some of the best stuff. The deleted scenes are pretty cool. I think there's like an extension on like the song probably or something like that. And Peyton Reed is the one who, I don't know if he wrote or directed this movie. I know he's a part of it. I think he directed it. And Peyton Reed is the man who did the Ant-Man movies, which are not very good. But he has a cameo in this movie too as the mime. I still can't believe that's the same Peyton Reed who makes those lackluster Ant-Man movies. How? Because this movie's cool, man. It's nicely paced and everything. And I just don't get it. Happy Women's History Month, everybody. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.